The Taming of the Shrew. In Padua, a beautiful city of Italy, there once lived a rich gentleman called Baptista. He had two daughters, the gentle and beautiful Bianca and Catherine. Catherine was as beautiful as her sister, but she had such an unforgivable temper that she was always known as Catherine the Shrew. Everyone was afraid of her angry tone, and in spite of her beautiful face, she had no admirers. Catherine was Baptista's eldest daughter, and he began to fear that she would never find a husband. Many men wanted to marry Bianca, but no one was willing to risk marriage with the bad-tempered Catherine. At last, Baptista decided on a plan. He announced that Catherine must be married before Bianca, who was the elder sister's right. Bianca's admirers at once began to look round for a man who would be brave enough to marry this wildcat, Catherine the Cursed. Now in Verona, another Italian town, there lived a rich guy and gay young man called Petruchio. His father had recently died and left him plenty of money, and Petruchio now wished to see the world and find a wife. So he went to Padua, and there he met a friend, Hortensio, one of the young men who wanted to marry Bianca. Petruchio told him that he too was looking for a wife, and Hortensio at once thought of Catherine the Shrew. Petruchio was a strong-willed young man. Surely he would be able to make Catherine obey him. He was merry and good-tempered too, and clever and amusing. Although he was a wise young man, and would know how to tame an ill-tempered wife. So Hortensio told Petruchio all about the gentle Bianca, whom he loved and wished to marry, and about the beautiful but bad-tempered Catherine. And now one can marry Bianca until Catherine has found a husband. Petruchio was interested and amused. Thunderstorm, I shall still make her love me. And he went to Baptista's house, taking Hortensio with him. You must pretend to be a musician, Petruchio said to him. You can teach Catherine music, and I will teach her love. Between us we will tame the shrew. When they reached Baptista's house, Petruchio spoke to him at once. Pray, have you not a daughter called Catherine, fair and virtuous? He asked. I have a daughter, sir, called Catherine, Baptista answered. I am a gentleman of Verona, sir, Petruchio went on. I have heard so much of the beauty and gentleness of your daughter Catherine that I have come to ask your permission for my friend to teach her music and for me to marry her. You are very welcome, Baptista said, and he sent Hortensio to Catherine at once. But I am afraid my daughter would not suit you, he added sadly to Petruchio. I see you do not wish to part with her, or else you do not want me for a son-in-law, said Petruchio. Indeed, you are mistaken, said Baptista. But where do you live, sir? What is your name? When Baptista heard his name, he realized that Petruchio's father was an old friend of his, and he welcomed the young man gladly to his house. But he had to admit that he doubted whether his elder daughter would make Petruchio a good wife. Even her father was afraid of her scolding tongue. I wish you good luck with her, he said to the young man, but you must be prepared for some unhappy words. At this moment, Hortensio came running into the room. His head was cut and bleeding, and his face was white with fear and anger. Why are you so pale? Said Baptista. What is the matter? Will my daughter prove a good musician? She will make a better soldier, said Hortensio angrily. He told Baptista that he had tried to correct Catherine's playing on the lute, and she had grown so angry that she had struck him on the head with the instrument. His head was cut, and the lute was broken, and while he stood helplessly in front of her, she had shouted at him rudely, calling him by insulting names. Brave girl, he said, delighted. I love her 10 times more than ever. He told Baptista how important he was to meet this Mary Catherine, and if he could see her at once. So Baptista advised the unhappy Hortensio to go find Bianca, who would prove an easier pupil. And Baptista himself went to fetch the stormy Catherine. Petruchio, left alone, decided on his treatment of this wild and angry girl. If she scolds, I shall tell her that she sings as sweetly as a bird, thought he. If she frowns, I say that she looks as clear as the morning roses newly washed with dew. If she will not speak a word, I shall see how well she talks. If she tells me to be gone, I shall thank her as if she had asked me to stay a week. If she will not marry me, I shall ask her to name the day for our marriage. The proud Catherine entered annoyed with a stranger who had asked her to see her, but Petruchio made no apology. He greeted her cheerfully with the words, Good morrow, Kate, for that's your name, I hear. They call me Catherine that do not talk to me, said Kate eagerly. You lie, said Petruchio. You are called plain Kate, and pretty Kate, and sometimes Kate the Cursed. But Kate, you are the prettiest Kate in all the world. Your beauty, your gentleness, and your virtues are praised in every town, and I have come to ask you to be my wife." "How dare you?" Catherine cried. "Will you go away at once?" But Petruchio would not go. Catherine argued with him. She scolded him. She tried to make him quarrel, but he pretended not to hear her insults. He praised her beauty and her gentle ways, and said that those who had told him she was bad-tempered Shrew were liars. Finally he said, "Sweet Kate, I'm going to marry you whether you wish it or not. Your father has given his consent, and I shall tame you, Kate, and change you from a wild Kate to a gentle Kate. Here comes your father. Never make a denial. I must and will have Catherine for my wife." And when Baptista came in, Petruchio told him that he and Catherine had arranged to be married on the following Sunday. "I'll see you hanged on Sunday before I marry you," cried Catherine, stamping her foot in anger. And she accused her father of wishing to marry her to a madman. But Petruchio interrupted her stormy speech. "Be patient," she said to Baptista. "She talks like this when you are here, but when we are alone she is most gentle and loving. Indeed, you will not believe how much she loves me." Then turning to Catherine, she said, "Come kiss me, Kate. I will go to Venice to buy us fine clothes and jewels, for we will be married on Sunday." And Catherine, speechless with anger and astonishment at this extraordinarily young man's behavior, said no more. On Sunday the feast was ready, and the guests arrived. Catherine was frowning and bad-tempered, but she was dressed in fine new clothes and was finally ready for marriage. Everyone was waiting for Petruchio, but he did not come. The guests whispered to each other, and Catherine cursed and scolded, and then ran tearfully out of the room, ashamed because Petruchio had treated her so badly. "Never means to marry me," she cried. "He has done all this to make a fool of me." By this time everyone was certain that Petruchio would not come. But suddenly he rode up on an ancient horse, which was so thin and ill that it could hardly walk. Petruchio himself looked like a beggar in torn and dirty clothes with a rusty broken sword at his belt, and the servant was dressed in the same untidy fashion. The guests whispered together in astonishment as Petruchio jumped down from the miserable horse, calling, "Where is Kate? Where is my lovely wife?" Baptista was extremely annoyed with Petruchio for keeping them all waiting, and for arriving in such a disgraceful state. "Why, sir, this is your wedding day," he said, and told Petruchio to go and change into more suitable clothes at once. Petruchio, however, stubbornly refused to change anything. "Kate is marrying me, not my clothes," he said. All arguments proved useless, and at last Catherine went unwillingly to church. During the ceremony, Petruchio continued to act in the same wild and shocking way. He cursed the priest so loudly that the poor man dropped his book in astonishment, and when he bent down to pick it up, Petruchio rudely knocked him over. He continued to curse and shout and stamp his feet, and poor Catherine, who had never been afraid of anyone, began to tremble with fear. When the ceremony was over, Petruchio called loudly for a cup of wine, drank half of it, and then threw the remains into the priest's face. His beard looked so thin and hungry, Petruchio said, roaring with laughter, "I thought some wine would do it good." At last Catherine succeeded in persuading him to return to her father's house, but Petruchio told her that it was impossible for them to remain at the marriage feast. "Please stay for the feast," Catherine begged him. "What will our guests say if we go away now?" But Petruchio did not care about the guests, and refused to stay. "If you love me, stay," Catherine said again. Petruchio's only answer was to tell his servant to bring the horses, and Catherine flew into a temper. "Go then," she cried. "The door is open, but I will not go today. No, nor tomorrow, nor till I wish to go." "Oh, Kate, do not be angry," said Petruchio. "I will be angry," said Catherine. "You shall stay as long as I wish." And she turned to the guests. "Gentlemen," she said, "let us go forward to the dinner. I see a woman may be made a fool, if she does not have the spirit to resist." "They shall go forward, Kate, at your command," said Petruchio. "Go, gentlemen, feast as my wife tells you, but my pretty Kate must go with me. I will be the master of my own life." And Kate could do no more, but she realized what was happening. She found herself riding with Petruchio to his home. It was a tiring ride because Petruchio had chosen the worst roads for the journey, and the horses were old and thin. When they were coming down a steep hill, Catherine's horse fell down in the mud, with Catherine underneath it. Petruchio, instead of helping his wife to get up, began to beat his servant, blaming him for the horse's fall. Catherine struggled up and tried to pull her husband away from the servant, and such a noise and confusion followed. Petruchio shouted, and Catherine argued, and the servant cried for mercy, and when they at last came calmer, they found that the horses had run away. At last the servant caught the horses, and Catherine, tired and hungry, with mud-stained clothes, reached her new home. She was quite sure by this time that she had married a madman, and her troubles were not yet ended. When the servants came out of the house to welcome them, Petruchio cursed and scolded them, and Catherine began to be more gentle with them. Supper was brought, and Petruchio criticized every dish. He grumbled that the food was burned and badly cooked, and quite unfit to eat. Catherine could find nothing wrong with it, and she was extremely hungry. But Petruchio would not let her eat. No, the meat was bad, he said. It would make her ill, and he threw the food on the floor. Catherine was tired out and nearly in tears, but even when she went to bed, she was not allowed to rest. Petruchio continued to find fault with everything in the bedroom. He said the bed was not fit for her to sleep in, and he threw the bedclothes on the floor. All night long he shouted and complained so loudly that Catherine could not sleep. She did not realize that this was part of Petruchio's plan to cure her of her angry tempers. He intended to show her how miserable it was to live with someone who was continually scolding and grumbling. When she realized this, she would soon mend her bad-tempered ways, but meanwhile she was very unhappy. Next day, Petruchio behaved in the same way, always speaking gently to his wife, but making everything as uncomfortable for her as he could. By this time she was so hungry that she begged a servant to bring her some food. But he made excuses, and at last he told her that he dare not bring her food without his master's orders. "Did he marry me to starve me?" Catherine asked angrily. "Beggars who come to my father's door give him food, but I, who don't know how to beg, am starved for meat and tired from lack of sleep. I was kept awake all night by Petruchio's shouting, and it annoys me most of all that he pretends to do this all because he loves me." Just then Petruchio came in, carrying a dish of meat. "How are you, my sweet Kate?" he asked. "See how much I think about your comfort. I myself have cooked some food for you." Catherine did not answer. "No thanks," said Petruchio. "Why not a word? Perhaps you do not like the food." And he ordered the servants to take the meat away. "No, no, let it stay," cried Catherine, who was weak with hunger. "The poorest services are paid with thanks, and you must thank me before you touch the meat," said Petruchio. "I thank you, sir," said Catherine miserably, and Petruchio allowed her to have a little of the meat. Before she had finished, he pretended to think that she had had enough, and told the servant to take the dish away. He then sent for a tailor to bring some clothes, which he had ordered for her. The tailor showed Catherine a beautiful cap. "What a cap," said Petruchio. "It is much too small. It is like a baby's cap. Come, let us have a bigger one." "I do not want a bigger one," cried poor Catherine. "This one is the fashion, and gentlewomen wear such a cape as this." "When you are gentle, you shall have one too," replied her annoying husband. Catherine lost her temper. "I hope I have permission to speak, and speak I will," she cried. "I am no child, no baby, to be treated like this. Other people have listened to me, and if you cannot, you had better stop your ears." "It is quite true what you say," said Petruchio, taking absolutely no notice of her words. "It is a silly cap. I love you because you do not like it." "Love me or love me not," said Catherine, "I like that cap, and I will have it." "Take away the tailor, we do not want it," said Petruchio. "Now let us see the dress." He picked up the dress and examined it. "Oh, what cheap material," he went on. "What in the world does this tailor do you call this? You have cut the cloth so badly that the dress is spoiled." "I have never seen a nicer dress," said Catherine. "I admire it in every way." But Petruchio would not listen to her, and told the tailor to take the clothes away. Privately he told the servants to keep the dress and cap for Catherine, and to pay the tailor's bill. But he said to Catherine, "Well, come, my Kate, we shall have to go to your father's house in the poor clothes we are wearing now." He ordered the servants to bring the horses, saying that it was now 7 o'clock, and they would easily reach Baptista's house in time for dinner. But the time was really 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Catherine told him so. "It'll be supper time before we arrive there," she said gently. "You argue with everything I say," said Petruchio crossly. "All right, I shall not go." Next day Catherine had learned her lesson, and she did not argue with Petruchio about the time of the day. They set out on horseback to her father's house. After some time they decided to go down from their horses and rest. It was a lovely morning. The sun was shining, and there was not a cloud in the sky. "How brightly the moon is shining," said Petruchio. "The moon?" said Catherine. "The sun, you mean. It is not moonlight now." "I say it is the moon that shines so brightly," Petruchio repeated. "I know it is the sun," said Catherine. "Now by my mother's son, and at myself," said Petruchio, "I shall be the moon or star or what I please before I travel to your father's house." "I shall never be able to please this man," thought Catherine sadly. "Let us go forward," she said to Petruchio. "It shall be the moon or the sun or whatever you please. I will not argue with you." "I say then it is the moon," said Petruchio again. I know it is the moon, answered Catherine. No, then you lie. It is the blessed sun, said her husband. All right, it is the blessed sun, said Catherine in despair. I will agree with everything you say. Presently, an old gentleman came along the road, and to test Catherine's new obedience, Petruchio said to the old man, Good morning, gentle lady. Then turning to Catherine, he remarked, Tell me truly, sweet Kate, did you ever see a fairer lady? He praised the old gentleman's soft, fair skin, and said his eyes were like stars. Sweet Kate, kiss this lovely maid for her beauty's sake, he said. Catherine had really learned her lesson this time. Fair, fresh, and sweet young maid, she said solemnly to the old man, where are you going? Where is your home? How happy your parents must be so fair a child. The old man looked at her in great astonishment, and Petruchio said sharply, Why now, Kate, I hope you are not mad. This is an old man, and not a young girl, as you see he is. Forgive me, old father, said Kate. The sun was shining in my eyes, and I could not see it properly. Please excuse my mad mistake. The old gentleman, whose name was Vincentio, replied that he was going to Padua, and he joined them on the journey. He told them he was visiting his son Lucentio, who was going to marry Catherine's lovely sister Bianca. Petruchio's friend, the musician Hortensio, had been unsuccessful with Bianca, but had already married another woman. Catherine and Petruchio and the old man arrived just in time for Bianca's marriage feast, and Petruchio was delighted to find that Hortensio was also there with his newly married wife. When the meal was finished and the ladies had left the room, the men began to joke with Petruchio about his bad-tempered wife. Even Baptista said to him subtly, Indeed, I think you, son Petruchio, that you have married the worst shrew of them all. And I say no, said Petruchio boldly, and we will prove it. Let each man send for his wife, and we'll see whose wife is most obedient. Lucentio and Hortensio gladly agreed to do this, but both being confident of their gentle wives' obedience, Lucentio first sent a servant to ask Bianca to come. In a few minutes, however, the servant returned alone. My mistress sends you word that she is busy and cannot come, he said. She is busy and she cannot come? Is that an answer? Laughed Petruchio. But they told him to wait his turn. His wife sent him a worse answer. Next Hortensio said to his servant, Go and beg my wife to come to me. Oh ho, beg her, said Petruchio. Of course she will come if you beg her to do so. I am afraid, sir, said Hortensio, that your wife will not come, even if you beg her. But Hortensio's servant also returned home. Where is my wife? Asked Hortensio in surprise. She says you must be joking, answered the servant. She will not come. She says you must go to her. Worse and worse, she will not come, said Petruchio. Oh, this is not to be endured. He turned to his servant and said, Go to my wife and tell her that I command her to come to me. I know what her answer will be, said Hortensio. Well, what will it be? Petruchio asked him. That she will not come, he answered. But he had hardly spoken when Catherine's father cried out in surprise. Here comes Catherine, he said, looking at his daughter in astonishment, because Catherine's manner was neither angry nor intempered. She went quietly to her husband and asked him gently, What is your will, sir? Did you send for me? Where is your sister and Hortensio's wife? Asked Petruchio. They are sitting talking by the fire, Catherine answered. Go bring them here, Petruchio told her, and Catherine went at once to call them. Here is a wonder, cried Lucentio. And so it is, Hortensio agreed. I wonder what it means. It means peace, said Petruchio, smiling, and love, and a quiet life. In short, it means all that is sweet and happy, and if you will wait a little, I will show you more signs of her obedience. Catherine soon returned with the other two wives, and Petruchio said to her, Catherine, that cap of yours does not suit you. Take it off and throw it away. At once Catherine took off her cap and threw it on the ground. Bianca and Hortensio's wife looked at her in amazement. How silly you are, they cried. We should never obey our husbands in such stupid commands. Catherine, said Petruchio, tell these foolish women how they should behave toward their husbands. And to everyone's amazement, Catherine talked wisely and gently to their wives about the duties of a wife. When she had finished, Petruchio kissed her proudly. Why, there's a girl, he said. He has tamed a shrew, I whispered the others, and Catherine was no longer called a shrew. She continued to be loving, kind, and a dutiful wife, and Petruchio lived proudly and happily with his own sweet Kate. The end.